Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to something a little bit different, something a little bit special here. Welcome back to the CranKy Duckling Reviews Star Wars The Bad Batch, Season 2, Episode 1. We, of course, did wrap up with Ahsoka last week, where we survived. We survived the Ahsoka.
Yes, we survived Ahsoka.
We did. Barely. And we have made it here to another show that we're going to be indulging in for the first time. I'm, of course, your live VIP, and with me I'm joined by Kuro, Sithin Swatsenseki.
Hello there. As, let me say in a very Star Wars manner. I feel like we should start for those who of course, this is... Let me start again. You are expected to have watched the episodes, so there will be spoilers in this.
Yes.
But to first off, give a short summary on Season 1 for those who don't know what the Bad Batch is and are curious. The Bad Batch is happening literally at the start of the Empire, literally the moment the Order 66 is executed. This is the beginning of the series. And it follows a group of clones that are the Bad Batch. They are non-standard clones. They have various mutations that make them different from the typical clone. And because of that, like their Order 66 didn't activate and so on and so forth. Basically, they were different from everybody else, and they were as confused as to what is happening as everybody else was. Why clones suddenly turned against the Republic.
Yeah,
or against the Jedi, I guess, specifically.
Yes. So for those that are curious, Kuro, she's talking and discussing about Season 1. So Season 1, again, already did conclude. We already watched it ourselves outside of just this viewing review process, of course. As Kuro is mentioning, I think the most interesting thing about Season 1 is that instead of taking place during a certain era of time, and that's typically how a lot of the other live action shows have been taking place, or even some of the animated shows as well, like Rebels, for example. Here it's like during the events of these other pinnacle moments in StarCraft history, and we're able to get a bit of a different perspective of
Star Wars, not StarCraft.
Sorry, Star Wars. But we're able to get a different perspective from a different point of view as things are occurring and as things are happening as well. And that gets you kind of engrossed into it. As Kuro mentioned as well, we do also get to see clones that were not taken over by Order 66. They explained, of course, during the Clone Wars TV show, or the cartoon show, animated show, that basically there are these chips implanted into all the clones, and that does activate, and it's kind of like a mind control sort of thing, which does take over once Order 66 is activated. There was this whole like conspiracy, and there was this whole storyline during the Star Wars Clone Wars show, where there were certain clones that actually found out about this, and they tried to expose this to everyone and try to let everyone know what was going on. That ended up failing, of course, and the events of the movies that actually take place, and that led into the Bad Batch, of course. When it comes to this first season as well, we have our group of characters, but we also have our quote-unquote main character here, which is Omega, which is kind of like, think of Boba Fett. If you recall, Boba Fett was a clone, but didn't age the same, didn't have accelerated aging like the other clones, was treated almost like a son to Jango Fett, so it was just regularly aging like everyone else. Omega is meant to be kind of like that as well, except a female version.
Yeah, basically, I don't know if I want to put it, but it's kind of like Jango Fett ordered a son from the Kaminoans. It's like that was kind of part of the deal.
Yeah.
Because I think he was supposed to be actually like treated as his son.
Yeah.
And in this show, they kind of said that when they were creating those, they created two. One of them was male, one of them was female. So I believe that means that Omega is supposed to be the same age as Boba as well.
Yeah. For sure. And as fans of I mean, I don't know if I'd say fans of Star Wars, but as viewers of Season 1, we did actually quite enjoy it. We enjoyed Season 1 quite a bit. Obviously it had its issues, but we enjoyed it for the most part, when it came to the characters themselves, the character growth, the interplay between the characters themselves, the main characters, I mean the main group. It also expanded into, the greater Star Wars lore, introducing Echo. Echo, he did survive Clone Wars, and in his own way is not the same Echo that we once knew. Is now like a cyborg, and things happen to Echo as well. But he was one of like the original like Clone War, like clone troopers that we also kind of like grew attached to in the Clone Wars show, so they were able to bring him back. We had Rex making an appearance and having a cameo, Hera making a cameo, Fennec Shan, and some of the other and other characters throughout. Yeah, Caleb June, sure. But having just a bit of a cameo here and there wherever possible. But for the most part, the main story did focus on the group of clones and and the trials and tribulations that they had to deal with as Order 66 was occurring, of course, where we had one of the troopers actually peel off from them and actually join the Empire willingly so, and that caused some friction, some drama, of course, where they had to find out that had happened. And of course, finding out a little bit more about Omega as a character, and Omega and her creation, and the rest of the clones, and kind of finding their place in the world as well.
Yeah, and again, I feel like an important point of the show is that like because they are the non-standard clones, like each of them is different, and that doesn't just mean like oh they have different skills, but also like just mentally they're also different. Like they have their strong sides and the softer side. Like they made Wrecker, who is like this big guy, but they make him like really like a soft person in general, and like he has his own plushie and stuff. Like it's quite stereotypical in some ways, but like
Yeah.
it makes for a different character. And the whole show is about those characters interacting together and how they solve certain problems, because they sometimes have completely different opinions on certain things and how to solve some problems and so on. So it's interesting to see them like go through all of the things that are happening and trying to figure it out together.
Yeah, it's also a way to, of course, expand the lore of Star Wars, especially in the new canon, as they also explored Kamino and Kaminoans and how they were eventually eradicated by the Empire. This did happen in Legends. I think I already told you, Kuro, as well. This happened in Legends as well, but it was a little bit different. In Legends, in the original canon of Star Wars, before Disney wiped everything clean and started doing things in their own way, Kamino, they actually secretly created their own clone army that was not subservient to the Empire. So then there was like a different like subset group of like Kaminoan clones, and if you actually played Star Wars Battlefront, I think it was Star Wars Battlefront 2, one of the missions there was that you were one of the invading forces, or I guess you could pick sides of clones and actually invade and attack Kamino, and eventually Kamino was destroyed. But like they had their own like their own clones essentially. Here they did things differently, of course. Now in the new canon, like they still had the eradication of Kamino, which they still had to achieve, just because that means that now there are no more clones, because we know that in the future, in the original trilogy, clones don't exist anymore. They're stormtroopers, but they are not the same as the clone troopers. They are conscripted soldiers instead. So they had to get there eventually, and so Kamino had to be destroyed eventually as well. But they again told their own story here instead.
Yeah, I will say importantly though that they specifically said that the scientists of Camino have been evacuated or taken by the Empire essentially. But like the thing is that like they specifically said that they have use for the scientists yet, and they took them with them.
Yeah, and that might tie into the new canon of like Sidious cloning himself and all that stuff like that.
I mean, you have
maybe.
that, but also even in the Mandalorian, you have Gideon. Moff Gideon. He was cloning himself as well.
True.
And in remember in the meeting, there was the meeting in the Mandalorian. Like he was talking to people, and he was talking about you and your cloning like technology. So like there's another like faction of the Empire essentially that is actually using the cloning technology, which I wouldn't be surprised would be coming from this event.
Yeah, it could tie into this. It might not. I mean, we'll see. I'm sure season 2 is going to be delving a little bit more into that, as that's one of the loose threads from season 1 coming into season 2. So yeah, it's again we did quite enjoy season 1 for what it was. And now we have our season 2 here, and eventually season 3. We have 3 seasons in total that we're going to be working through now. That's going to be the current goal for our kind of viewing party. We started with Ahsoka. I mean, I say started with. We kind of mentioned this earlier, but we had already kind of off stream or off of this kind of format. We watched the Obi-Wan show, we watched the Mandalorian, we watched Book of Boba Fett, and then of course Ahsoka, which we did decide to start recording our thoughts and our kind of criticisms of.
We also We also watch the animated shows, importantly, because they
Oh
all
yeah.
tie into this.
Yeah, before all of that, sure, we watched Clone Wars, we watched Rebels. We didn't watch some of the other animated shows, but the main ones, Clone Wars and Rebels. And now
We
we're
watched Clone Wars twice, technically,
true.
because there were the two different versions of Clone
Yeah,
Wars,
true.
right?
Yeah. We watched the Legends version of Clone Wars. You're not wrong. Superior one, in different ways. And now, of course, we're here with the Bad Batch season 2. The goal here is to cover season 2, then season 3, and then more, which only recently came out. So we'll eventually get around to it eventually. And coming to season 2 here, it's once again a really interesting setting. I mentioned earlier how in the original canon, you know, the Kaminoans, like they did things their own way, right? Kaminoans, they had their own faction, they had their own basically war between them and the Empire. Here, they did things differently, but what's important is that we still have to end up in the same place, and that is eventually, like, we're going to end up with stormtroopers. We're not there yet, though, and that's what I find interesting already coming into the first episode here is because this is still relatively early in the era of the Empire, there's still clone troopers everywhere. And because of that, they're actually competent. Like they're actually they pose a bigger threat, and there's a different dynamic as well. Like I'm sure you noticed throughout the course of the episode. But for example, like their guns are set to stun permanently because like they're clones.
For the Bad Batch, because
and
they
then,
still find them like they're like, comrades. They're just on different sides, and they cannot explain it to them because it's not something it's not that they decided to serve the Empire, like they are being made serve the Empire. So the Bad Batch doesn't want to hurt them because
yeah.
it's not their fault.
Exactly. Well, they know that they're being controlled, right? They know, and they know that there's maybe a way to stop that, right? Like, and that might be another plot thread that they follow through in this season. But like because of that, again, like they're always shooting to stun instead. But there's a very different dynamic here. Like we can get into the episode itself. But I don't know if you noticed it, but again, like these are clone troopers, and the biggest difference between clone troopers and stormtroopers is that it's the big meme for Star Wars, but it's true in both canons, and that is that over time, because there are no more clones being made because of the downfall of Kamino, to supplement the army, they start conscripting, and to cut costs, like they don't invest and spend money, the Empire doesn't, in training the stormtroopers anywhere near as well as the clone troopers. So that's why the meme is like they can't shoot. We had the meme scene in Mandalorian where they can't shoot like the can on them while they're waiting on the speeder bikes. But like they don't get trained anywhere near as much. Like they're not as tactical. Like they're men with guns, but like the training has been diminished quite heavily. But because right now we're in the early era of the Empire, like there are clone troopers everywhere, and I feel like this episode did a good job at like making sure that they're competent, right? Like making sure that they're a bit more of a threat, or that like everything made sense. Like that's something that I at least appreciated from this, is that like it had a bit of a more, I don't know if I want to say serious tone, but like they took it more seriously here with the clones, and I appreciate it. That's like giving respect to how they are, to these characters.
You have the whole thing where like they said they have like set up perimeter, like they have like their own like rotations and stuff. If somebody's missing, immediately somebody knows that someone is missing.
Yeah.
There was the scene where they were investigating a sound, but still it looked fairly professional. They were actually like doing their job.
Well, the thing that I loved the most was that once they realized that there were intruders, immediately they jettisoned the escape pods. Like that was like a nice little touch, right? Like where they're like, true. Like there are intruders on board. The only way they can get out is through escape pods. Okay, send them out, and they just like shut out all the escape pods. And that made the Bad Batch be more creative in how they wanted to escape, right? So like it all played into each other, but like it all like makes sense. Like they didn't do anything, like the clone troopers didn't do anything wrong. Like they weren't painted in like a bad light or like as like stupid soldiers or anything like that, which is often done later on with stormtroopers, like in the Rebels and things like that, like where they're made to be a little bit more like a joke, or they're not as serious, right? They're not as threatening. But I think
basically they're just cannon fodder. That's
what
they consider.
Yeah, and here they're giving them a little bit more respect, which I appreciate. I don't know how long it'll last. I hope it lasts throughout the entire season, but like I appreciate that, and it's something different, right? Like we don't often get to see Imperial clone troopers in Star Wars media, because we often just skip over that, right? And we just go straight to like Empire
cause
or First Order.
Basically Bad Batch literally covers the transitional period between, like,
Mhm.
the Republic and the Empire. As you said, like, by the time we see anything happening in the Empire, like, they already have all the stormtroopers.
Yeah, yeah. I guess what I'm saying is that this period of time specifically isn't really touched too much, right? Like a
Mm.
lot of the other media, live action shows, movies, they move past it often, and they're often like already in the Empire, or they're often already in the First Order kind of era or post First Order. So like it's an era that hasn't really been touched too much, so there's a lot that they can do with this. Like there's obviously there are restrictions because it is like a quote unquote prequel, right? Like certain events have to occur eventually, but like they still have a lot of freedom in the sense that this whole era is more or less unexplored. I'm sure they explore a little bit more like in books or in comics, but even then, like in the new canon, like there are less books, there are less comics than there were previously. So like we're still like ripe with full of like ideas that we can explore.
Yes, I agree.
It's just it's interesting to me, at least, that
No,
like.
yeah, it's interesting because, especially since, I don't want to use the word convenient, but like, we're seeing, the changes in the world through their eyes, and they also don't know what's going on, just like we don't, kind of.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
kind
like,
of.
we can see the world changing, as they see it.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm curious to see what kind of aspects of this era they touch, right?
Mhm.
So when it comes to the episode itself, well, it was a bit of a reintroduction episode. We get to see them, have a small little mission.
Okay.
Something that they do set up early on, which is a bit of a continuation from the previous season, but I'm sure they're going to delve into it more. Is that Omega is like learning from them, right? Like she's being taught things, and
Yes.
she's learning and growing as a character.
But Omega actually has a crazy action scene, which I found funny. I mean, fine. It was fun. It was like an action scene, but like, she thinks on the fly, and like, she does like all these extremely dangerous stunts that Hunter is very upset about. But like, it looks pretty good. Like, she's pretty good at what she's doing, actually.
I think what's really important about Omega, and it's something that they like. Obviously, the sequel trilogy is notorious for this, and even some other aspects of Star Wars. But is that Omega is a character that's growing with the audience and growing with the show and growing with the other characters, in the sense that she's not immediately like good at everything, right? Like she had her
Yeah.
experiences in season 1, and even here, like she's learning in season 2, and she's still reliant on the rest of the team for other things. She can hold her own in certain aspects, and she can be useful in certain ways as well, but she's still a part of the team as well. Obviously a
Mhm.
mistake that other mediums can take, and again, Rey is a big example of that, is that they instantly make a character, and they can do everything, and there's no growth available because of that. But here, especially with the TV show, like you have time to flesh out a character. You have time to have them make mistakes, and learn from that and grow from
Yeah.
that, and spend time with everyone else. This is, I guess, actually one of our issues with Ahsoka, for example. In Ahsoka,
Mhm.
there was no growth for Sabine. There was no growth for Ahsoka even
Mhm.
as well. Like the character stayed very stagnant throughout the course of it, and there was less of an attachment. And I mean, Ahsoka had all these issues, and even more. But here, like, they're taking their time, spending time with these characters, and they're doing, I would say, so far a good job at growing. Not just Omega, but all of them.
Mhm.
Like Echo had his own arc, Wrecker had his own arc
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, like, maybe, they had the skill, like, they didn't have the skill arc, but they did have, like, the progression in terms of their mental state and stuff, and like how
Mhm.
they look at certain things. So yes, like, all these characters had their own arc of sorts. I mean, Hunter is probably the biggest one because he's
Mhm.
he's kind of became Omega's dad, even though
Yeah.
he's technically her brother. But
Mhm.
like, he's kind of like the guardian of Omega, and he's like very very intense about that.
Yeah, that's what makes it wholesome. Like he's the dad, and you have all the uncles, right?
Yeah.
Like you have.
Yeah,
like
basically, basically.
yeah, like everyone of course is looking after Omega, but like he's Hunter has a maybe a bit of a
He's the
deeper connection
responsible
there.
one, you know.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Because that's why he's the parent, because he's the
Hmm.
responsible one, and then all the uncles are trying to spoil her. Well,
Yeah,
maybe except Tech, because Tech is also trying to make her study everything.
yeah. They have their own.
But speaking of Tech, we jumping ahead of that, but I just wanted to say, because there was a scene later on where Tech actually compliments Omega. So I like that they don't make him just like, this like, they don't make him just mean to her and just
Mhm.
like cold. Like he's genuinely like, teaching her because he wants her to know those things. And
Yeah,
like he's impressed with that she knows something.
for sure,
So
for
that's
sure.
cool.
Yeah, when it comes to the episode itself, the episode comes into, they have a small little mission initially to reintroduce everyone. Then they get sent on a mission to go to Count Dooku's palace, which apparently is currently being raided by the Empire, by the other clone troopers. Because again, the Separatist army like has fallen at this point, and clone troopers and the Empire is starting to take over. We spoke a little bit about the era, and from our understanding, based on the dialogue in the beginning of this episode, it sounds like the Empire is taking over but has not taken over. It looks like they're still in the process of going through different parts of the galaxy and going to different planets and asserting their dominance. Because the character here, the I can't remember her name, but she emphasizes how like
She-
eventually the Empire is going to
she-
come here, and eventually they'll take over, and eventually like things will change here, and that will happen eventually, right? It hasn't happened yet, but it's like
yeah.
occurring. They're
Like it's
like
some
slowly absorbing like the galaxy.
Yeah, it's something that is like in progress right now. That like
Mhm.
the empire has taken over, like legally, I guess you can say that officially. Or let's put it that way. Like officially, they have announced that they have taken over, but they are still in the process of actually like going
Get
through the resources that they got
and
basically.
getting everyone on board, right? Like it's easy to say that, but
Yeah,
like they have to go to all these planets, they have to make sure like they subjugate to them. It's not just that, but they also have to do the same thing with like separatist planets, right? Like because this is all happening at once, where they're taking over the Republic and the separatist like planets as well. So like it's all going to be eventually like secured. Um, Eventually, and I'm sure this season is probably going to be delving into that a little bit as well. We'll see. Like I feel like there's a lot of options right now, a lot of different routes they can take, like because they're so close to the clone troopers. Like are they going to try to free them? And in this canon, is that what happens in the end, right? Like in the earlier in the Legends canon, it was that obviously clones weren't being replenished, so eventually they were dying off over time. But I think there was even a mandate that was done where actively clone troopers were being pushed out of the Empire to replace them with more like loyalists, where like the chips were like over time were like malfunctioning and things like that, and clone troopers in general were like a bit more of like a sign of like a way of how things were done previously. I remember there was also some elitism as well, because like as stormtroopers get like indoctrinated in, like clone troopers were being upset because they had to work with these like unqualified like soldiers, and they didn't know what the hell they were doing, and there was like some animosity going on there as well. Like there was all this stuff that was explored again in the Legends canon, and they could delve into that here as well. Like it might be too soon for that, like because this is so soon, we probably won't see any stormtroopers, but like we might lead into that kind of direction. And I'm curious to see if we encounter some of the other clones as well. Like we saw Rex in season 1. Like are we going to see Cody? Like is that going to happen here in season 2 as well? Like there's some other like notable like clone troopers as well that like and that I expect to be touched on, just because like this is a very clone centric show, right? And we'll
yeah.
see.
I would say we probably will see more. Maybe you will see Rex again, or maybe someone
Oh
else.
yeah.
Because if you remember, season one, like the whole encounter with Rex ended with like, we have to sort things out now, but like, later on, maybe we'll call you and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Basically, like they're gonna keep in touch. And in this episode, you have Echo pressing her like, "Oh, we should be doing more." Like,
Yeah.
we sure like, happy Omega, but we should be doing more than that. And that's why I think that's the direction they're going for. That they want to like maybe rejoin with Rex, maybe join like another organization, but it definitely sounds like they're actually gonna get involved in some things.
Yeah, I hope that they don't get involved in the rebellion. I mean, it's too soon for that anyway, right? Like Star Wars Rebels, like that's kind of like that covers like the foundation of the rebellion, basically the formation of it, right? Like if you remember, like with originally there were like all these like little groups, and then Fulcrum like joined them all together, and then they formed themselves, and that's a lot later, right? So like
I was gonna say that's a lot later.
Yeah. So I would hope that the writers of this understand that, and they don't tease that too much. Like I would want these guys to be doing their own thing, separate from any kind of like grander rebellion sort of stuff.
I mean, I think they may still be like cooperate with someone. Well, I guess the thing is that like when what the show Rebels covers is not that like, oh, there was no rebellion. There was the rebellion, but like it wasn't like a unified front. It was just like, you know, different cells in different places. So maybe they will like portray the life like one of these cells essentially.
Yeah, we'll see, because like it also depends on what their motivations are. Like I can see them being very, very motivated to help their brothers, right? To help the other clone troopers and to try to free them in some way. Like in my mind, like that seems like a more clear motivation for them. I don't know how motivated they are to like help like push against the Empire, period, or help people in need or something. Like I don't know if they care as much about that. But I guess we'll see. Like
That's why I'm saying that may go for Rex, because Rex clearly knows something.
Sure, but like as in the overall plot of the show, I would hope centers a little bit more around the clones more than anything. We might even get it. We might even get like a cameo of Boba Fett. Maybe I don't think so. He's around in this time zone.
He's a kid. He's still a child.
Show us Omega. Like they'll meet each other.
Yeah, true. but the point is Omega has all her ankles, and Boba Fett doesn't. Actually, what is happening to Boba Fett this time? That is a very good question.
I think
because we never get an update.
He's with his bounty hunters. Remember, he's like in a group of bounty hunters at the moment.
Does he have a group?
Yeah. Remember, he leads.
That's what I'm saying. Does he actually have a group?
Yeah, he's like leading a group of bounty hunters. Last we saw.
Okay.
But
what I was gonna say. I love my memory. It's so good. Oh yeah, no, because in Rebels, if you remember, the way we meet Rex in Rebels is that like, oh, he's retired, like he doesn't do this anymore. Oh, he's just gonna, you know, sit with these two other guys who are also clones. Oh yeah, we're just on this like abandoned planet, so nobody bothers us, basically. So what I'm saying is that like it sounds like up to the point of Rebels, like Rex either was involved in some kind of rebellion but like gave up on that, or it failed, or he wasn't involved in directly like rebellion, but he was involved in some kind of different operation and then just retired. So that's why I'm saying that it's possible that they just go with whatever Rex is doing, and that still like won't connect directly to like the bigger rebellion.
Sure. I mean, you touched on something which I think is probably where either season 2 or season 3 will touch on, and that is the fact that if you remember, Rex, when they find him in Rebels, there are other clone troopers with him. Remember, there's like Wolf, and there's like a couple of others
Wolfie
as well.
Gregor.
Yeah. So, and remember, like this show was produced after the Rebels show had already ended, so I'm sure they'd be very tempted to introduce those clone troopers here, and we might even see them be freed, right, from their control. Like I think there's a pretty high chance of that happening, actually, because they are basically other clone troopers that we know of who eventually like break free from that sort of stuff.
Were those not in Clone Wars?
I can't remember. Maybe they were. I can't remember.
But I'm pretty sure from Rebels specifically, I think Gregor, or maybe another clone, I don't remember, but one of the clones they were talking about, or maybe that was they saved another, I don't remember, but there was a clone that was said to be an instructor in a military base of the stormtroopers. So there is a clone that is supposedly teaching stormtroopers. So I feel like that's something they may mention at some point. Maybe.
Yeah.
If they're gonna go into their stories.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's Cody. I'm pretty sure Cody, he ends up instructing a bunch of stormtroopers.
Was it Cody?
But we'll see.
He had a different name. I think they introduced him as something else.
But yeah, so that's like something that they could explore, is maybe those guys, or they can just tell their own story. Like I don't know. Like I think it's I don't know if you have any ideas as to where the story's going to go. I feel like it's still pretty early, and they can go a couple different directions. Obviously, of course, the
No,
big
yeah.
one is Crosshairs, right? Like, but at the same time, like I feel like after season 1, like I don't know if they really.
There's nowhere to go with Crosshair.
Yeah, I would imagine they would respect his decision. Like, I don't know if they secretly want to like try to like go to him because it's his decision, right? Like he's the one that's choosing
Yeah,
to be with the
but
Empire. So
the thing is, they I guess very intentionally left it ambiguous at the first
mhm.
of at the end of first season, where like he's like, "Oh, I want nothing to do with you. I went there willingly, and you left me. You know, you could all be part of this, and you decided to leave." It's like he was resentful about them not joining the forces, but at the same time, like they make him actually want to help them, and like
Mhm.
they very intentionally like show him kind of conflicted about all of this,
Well, it's
so
one of
they could
those.
still do something with them.
Sure, but it's not going to be their goal. As in, if Crosshairs encounters them or even joins them, it'll be because he wants to, not because they try to like save
Yeah,
him. You
yeah,
know, like it'll be from his perspective, or it'll
yeah,
be
because
his
they said it that
decision.
like they never gave up on him, but like if that's what he wants to do, like that's what he wants to
Yeah,
do.
so that's what I mean when it comes to the greater plot. I don't see them trying to help him unless unless they find out like he tries to leave and then he gets captured by the Empire and then they go and save him. Like that, sure, I can see that happening. But like from the outset, they shouldn't be like tracking him down or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean that was the whole point of the first season, and they
Yeah,
kind of ended that line in the conversation where he said that like no, he actually like sure he had the inhibitor chip, but like even without it, like he wanted to be part of the Empire. So
yeah,
so like that basically ends the conversation there.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So we'll see. I'm curious. I think right now it's a little bit too soon to know for certain where the show is going to go for season 2. The main plot thread. Again, for season 1, as you mentioned, it was just the downfall. Sorry, the downfall of the rise of the Empire, even I should say, and the downfall of the clones, and them trying to find out what's going on, and then the backstory of Omega and what's happening with Crosshairs. I feel like season 1 wrapped everything up. Is the thing. Like I don't know if there's many loose threads left here. It's not like they actively want to save the Kaminoan scientists, for example. Like I don't get that impression that's something that they want to do. So we'll see. Like they've got. I feel like they've got like an open canvas, and we'll see where they take it. Hopefully, somewhere interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And now for the cliffhanger.
So the episode, so they go to Count Dooku's palace to try to steal stuff, basically, as it's being transported off a planet by the Empire. They're contracted to try to find something of high value, and they have like a crate. I think they have one, maybe two, like one crate full of stuff.
Well,
And
they have none at the moment, but I'm sure that the single container they're in, I'm sure it has something valuable, but like not as valuable as they thought, because that's how the episode probably ends. But if you remember, they got one crate of like some kind of gems or something, and they left it in the forest because then Wrecker and Hannah had to fight, and then they had another crate that they took from the container,
yeah,
but they had to use it as cover, and they
yeah,
left it there. So they have
yeah.
no crates. They have whatever they took in the container.
That's what I mean. They have whatever they took in the jettisons, like big container that they're in.
Yeah.
Um, and they can do some interesting stuff there, like Sith relics or Dooku related stuff, and we'll see if they do anything interesting there with like Lord Tyrannus or something like that.
Yeah, it's actually like, his yearly supply of underwear, and none
Ah,
of it is worth anything.
there you go, there you go. So we'll see. So we'll see what they do with the story itself. I don't know if there's anything you want explored, Kurt. Is there anything you hope that the story kind of leads into?
I want to see what Rex is up to, because I want to see what would Rex be doing, because again, Rex was one of the clones that was like in on whatever was happening from quite a while. Like he was the one who let Ahsoka escape from Order 66 and so on.
Yep.
So I want to say what he's up to and why, despite him being so involved in all of the events, like in Rebels, we find him just retired out of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's just that's It's one of the weaker parts
because
of
that's
Rebels.
canon in this world.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
canon.
It's one of the weaker parts of Rebels because it's hard to imagine a world where he retires, right? Like, because he's a soldier and because I'm sure he's motivated to fight for what he believes in. So the idea of Rex retiring feels kind of weird, right? Especially because he was a lot more engrossed in that kind of military life more so than like Cody, for example, or something like that. So
not just that, but like he had a lot of knowledge about about what was happening, and he was like actively involved in the events.
Yeah, so I would say that was one of the negative aspects of Rebels, is what they did to Rex, just because there's a weird disconnect there. And now the writers of the show, they need to connect that, right? Like, they need to, in a satisfying way, try to like connect these two like trajectories for the character and these dots. And it's not going to be easy to like have a satisfying answer as to what happened there. So we'll see what they do with it and how it gets big.
Yeah, how he gets big, exactly, because I thought that was the weirdest part.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because the art style of Rebels is slightly different, but it's not the fault of the art style. Somebody designed all the clones in Rebels specifically to be huge.
Yeah, to be
and
just
I
thicker.
don't know why.
To the
They're
point
just
where
thick.
I don't know if you remember, for a while, like Rex, he even would wear his helmet, but he wouldn't wear his armor because it was too big for his armor. Like, it was like it was just
like,
it was really weird. Yeah.
Like, he wasn't fat. It wasn't that he was fat. Like, he was just big.
Yeah.
Like, they suddenly made him like 3 times as big as he always was, because he was just usually just like a normal man.
Yeah. It's a really weird decision for the character model of the clone troopers, as you mentioned, because it wasn't just Rex, it was all
because it was all clones.
Yeah. It's weird, but we'll see. Again, this is a really interesting era in Star Wars. I hope that they explore this transitionary period of like troopers and stormtroopers and what happens to them, and whether they're able to help some clone troopers, and whether or not that's the direction that the story takes us. We'll see. It's 16 episodes. The episodes are a lot shorter than Ahsoka, so we're probably going to have less to speak on. Like this episode here as well, like it was relatively straightforward with kind of like the events that were happening.
20 minutes.
Yeah, and we already spoke about like some of the highlights as well. Like, I appreciate how they treated the clone troopers themselves. Like, in my opinion, like they were treated with some good respect as well, with a lot of their decisions and things like that, which I appreciate, of course. And yeah, we'll see what happens with the rest of Bad Batch.
I did find it pretty funny that the cliffhanger was that Hunter and Wrecker are falling down an elevator shaft, and the rest of the team is falling down from the atmosphere, from the like height of the atmosphere, in a container that's supposed to stop at some point, but we don't know if they do it. And I'm like, if this was any other shows, all of them are dead. They're just dead.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice that they ended this. I don't think it's very common or very often that they end things in a cliffhanger. I guess like they're starting the season off with like a 2-parter essentially. So we're ending part 1, which is Spoils of War, and I guess we'll get into part 2 next time.
Yeah. See you then.
Yeah. See you then. Overall, positive vibes. We have high hopes as to where we'll go. Again, I don't think there's really much to go off of yet for the direction of the story, but hopefully it goes into a good place.
Again, we said it before, but like Bad Batch, like even though it's dealing with a lot of like war-related topics, like in general, it's pretty wholesome as a show, because you know, it's like about like the characters caring for each other and stuff. So yeah, it's generally like a wholesome show, and yeah, you just enjoy watching the people interact. And if that includes even Sid, because the person you don't remember the name is Sid, the one who gives the missions. And on one hand, she was always like, you know, very like cranky and like, oh, I'm just hiring you because I need you to do this, like, but I actually don't care, like go die for all I care. But at the same time, anytime like Omega was around and she had like some kind of problem, she would approach her, because like, I mean, you know, it is a child. It's like, you know, like you can tell it, like she kind of cares. She just says she doesn't.
Yeah. There's definitely more greater ties there. I guess another cameo that we mentioned that we didn't actually mention is the robot. The robot from Camino is like a
AZ,
bartender
yeah,
now.
they got AZ somehow.
Yeah.
Didn't AZ like sunk to the depths of Camino?
I'll be honest, I cannot remember what occurred.
I rewatched it and I'm pretty sure they didn't retrieve AZ. Like he because his final mission was to get them to the surface, and then he just sank to the depths of the oceans of Camino.
I guess they fished him out. They went and fished him out, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing that I was going to bring up is that they haven't cemented how much time has passed. We know that time has passed. We don't really know how long it's been, whether it's been weeks, months, or years.
Well, it's been at least like, I'm gonna say 2 months. At least. And I'm saying that because Omega grew her hair.
Yeah. There's been a time skip of some kind, and that's a little bit ambiguous, at least at the moment. So yeah, I'm sure we'll get some more clues as to how much time has passed later in the show. But yeah, with that, that wraps up episode 1 of Bad Batch season 2, and we'll be getting into the rest of it. I'm still on the fence whether we should be doing one of these reviews like each episode or like every batch of episodes. Like, I didn't realize this was a 2-parter. Like, if I did, like, we probably should have covered both episodes first, but we'll figure it out.
It's a starting, okay? It's a start, okay?
Yeah. We'll figure it out. But otherwise, thanks for watching. I can see Hera looking approvingly over at
she's looking hopeful. Yeah.
Let's go.
It's like, you know what? Maybe this will be a
show. We'll see.
It's a wholesome show.
It's too soon to confirm, but we'll get through it.
It's like, you know what? Ahsoka is over. This will be better.
You can't get worse. You can't get worse than Ahsoka. It's okay. We made it through it. We'll be fine. No. We'll see you next time.
Bye.